I'm going to be honest, the hard part is over. Everything else from here on in is just having fun with the tools that I've already shown you. I'm going to introduce a couple of other things, but everything that we're going to be doing is basically creating selections, changing the color of those selections, just erasing out parts and combining things how we want. So, let's say that I wanted to combine this pair of scissors with a zipper, with a pen. I don't know how. I just took these photographs right here. I can do that pretty simply. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to select out these scissors from the background. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the same technique that I've used to select everything else in this series. I'm going to start by using the quick selection tool. And again, I have never selected this photograph before. This is me just following the principles that I've shown you. I don't have any secrets. There aren't any hidden secrets. So first thing that I'm going to do after I've gotten as far as I can using the quick selection tool, I'm just going to go in and use the lasso tool. Now, if I really wanted to, use the best automated features, hit delete to go back a point. So delete to go back a point. If I really wanted to try, I might have a middle step of using the magnetic lasso tool. But truth be told, if the quick selection tool isn't doing it, there's not that great of a chance that the magnetic lasso tool is going to do a great job either. That just seems to be what I've seen. So I'm going to, let's just keep adding to this selection. And you'll notice that one thing that's really important is make sure to be zoomed in. Press Ctrl+ a couple of times. Just keep it in the center of the screen. So you'll notice I'm just kind of fluidly using all of these shortcuts. What I'm not doing is I'm not going to the Tools panel all the time, and I'm not going to all of these drop downs. I'm just using a single tool, and I know how to use it with the different shortcuts, the shortcuts that I've shown you. All right, so look at this area here. I'm going to hit Shift, and I'm going to add to this selection right here, just so we get this curve exactly how we want it. And I'm just kind of moving this right here. Now, in order to cut out this middle point, I'm going to use the wand tool. It's a perfect example of where if I just hit Alt, I can just subtract exactly what I want. Now, I have a bit of a problem. When I hit Alt, this happened. And the reason for that is I didn't, well, okay, one sec. If you have a problem, the first place to look is, are you on the wrong layer? I am not on the wrong layer. The second place to look is does it have something to do with the active region? And in this case, that isn't really what it is. The third place to look is, are you on the right tool? I am on the right tool. And are the options to that tool set right? So the options to that tool are either in the options bar, or if there's a window that corresponds to it, for instance, like in text, in things like the characters window. So I can see if I go to the options bar, contiguous, is it touching? I want to make sure that's checked. And now when I do this, this works like a charm. Well, actually it didn't work that well. It selected a little bit more than I wanted, so I'm going to undo that. I'm going to take the tolerance down to 30. And now when I hit Alt, it does a much better job right there that I'm pretty happy with. And I'm going to go back to the lasso tool. I can see that it did get a little bit of my thumb in this, which I don't want, so I'm just going to get rid of that by doing that right there. It's looking pretty good. So let's just speed up this video a little bit so you don't need to watch me select. Notice right there that I just hit down Alt in order to change the magnetic lasso tool into the polygonal lasso tool. If I were to let go of Alt, it would turn back into the magnetic lasso tool. One thing I suggest you do is you keep experimenting with different modifier keys, because sometimes it'll create results that you don't necessarily know are there. Whenever you're using any tool, always see what happens when you hit Control, Shift, and Alt. With that selected, I'm just going to copy it and paste it. And now if I turn off the background layer, I have it on its own layer. So let's actually create a new layer, put it behind. Here we go. I'm just going to put this new layer behind. Give it a solid color. Let's just make it the solid color of black. Okay. And fill. There we go. Now we have this, these on their own. Now I'm looking at this, and it looks like it's a little bit of a jaggedy selection in a lot of these places. So let's fix that. I'm going to go into the History panel, and I'm going to step back. And before copying and pasting this, I'm going to go into Refine Edge. Notice I selected one of the selection tools. I'm going to go into Refine Edge, and in this way I'm going to feather it a little bit. I'm going to shift the edge in a little bit. I'm going to here feather it a little bit more. That'll just kind of blur it. And now we can see exactly what it would look like. I'm going to actually increase the contrast some. And this is looking pretty good. Let's decrease that. Let's see what happens if I hit smooth. And let's just look at the before and after. So this is show original, and this is after. And that looks like it's much, much better. So you can see I just went into refine edge, and I just kind of played around with the options ever so slightly, and it made a really big difference. So I'm going to press OK. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste. And what we're left with is this. And again, let me put on a black background. Oops, wrong tool. Hit escape. So I'm just going to go here, give it a black background. Looking pretty good. If I wanted to make an adjustment, I could always go in, and I could go in with the lasso tool and you know, just make sure you're on the right layer. Right now I'm on the background layer, so I'll have problems if I were to hit delete immediately. So I'm just going to go here, do that, maybe refine the edge until it's a pixel. So let me just blur that by about a pixel, press OK, go here, hit delete, and that'll delete everything in the active region. And instead of going to select, deselect, I'm just going to hit Control D, and that just gives it a little bit smoother of an edge. Anyhow, one way or another, we have this on its own. If I were to hit Control T, there we go. We have a pair of scissors that looks like this. All right, fantastic. Let's actually combine these scissors with something else. So I have a pen right here. Pretty simple thing to select. I'm just going to use the rectangular marquee tool, and I'll show you something I haven't shown you yet. If you right-click inside of it, you can actually transform the selection. So if I were to hold down Control, I can transform the selection. Now, I'm not transforming what's in the selection. I am transforming the active region itself. So that seemed to have gotten the job done. If you hold down Control, you can move the individual points. Holding down Shift. Again, I don't expect you to memorize all of these different modifier keys for all of these different tools. I just want you to experiment with them. And that's what really matters, because if you try to memorize everything right from the get-go, you won't, and it just becomes frustrating. It becomes like an overwhelming amount of information. You'll notice that I accidentally double-clicked right there. Not a big deal, because I started in the center of the image. It's something that I told you right at the offset. It's always important to start at the center of the image. All right, there we go. It's a selection of this pen right here. Let's just make it perfect. So again, I'm just holding down Shift. I'm sure you are bored of watching me select by now. That makes me happy. That makes me happy because it is so crucial to Photoshop. So I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to hit Control-C to copy, and I'm going to hit Control-V to paste. Looking pretty snazzy. All right, there's one problem with this, however, and that's that, you know, this right here. I want to get rid of my thumb. So I'm going to turn off all of the layers and back. I'm going to go to the Stamp tool. I'm going to increase the size of the Stamp tool, and I'm just going to Alt-click here. And just kind of, let's see, there we go. Make sure that the edges align. You only care about the edges. There, fixed. And in fact, let's go here and just kind of do that same thing, just a little bit to make it better. I'm going to go right here, and that didn't do all that good of a job, so I'm just going to use the lasso tool. You can see that I'm just kind of experimenting with the different tools, and I'm just going to press delete. Let's Control D to deselect, and I would not know that a thumb was there at some point. Looks pretty good to me. All right, so let's turn both of these on.